Hey everybody, this is Marcel Irnie, Racing News. September 6th, today we're talking more about the war machine and what's going on in Ukraine. But to start, I wanted to remind everybody or inform people that don't know that the war machine or war is the biggest industry in the world. Biggest industry in the USA. This is so much bigger than the pharmaceutical companies for COVIDism. BlackRock, here's an article from 2020. BlackRock and the $15 trillion fund industry should be broken up, anti-monopoly group says. Let's just go into it. BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street manage a stunning $15 trillion in combined assets, equivalent to more than 3/4 the size of the U.S. economy. The rapid growth of the big three fund managers, driven in part by rise of dirt cheap ETFs, gives them enormous sway over financial markets and the priorities of corporate America. Now, combined, BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard are the largest owner in 88% of the SP 500 companies, according to the paper published on Tuesday by the American Economic Liberties Project. And of course, the big three stakeholders in companies include Apple, JP Morgan Chase, and Pfizer. So they own those industries too. These companies are so big that the government asks for them to buy up bad debt. BlackRock is so powerful that the federal government has asked for its help during each of the past two recessions. In March, the Fed tapped BlackRock to manage a first-of-its-kind vehicle to buy corporate debt, including junk bonds. The web of connections and influence means that it is likely that BlackRock has touched the lives of most Americans in one way or another. Whether or not people know this fact is another matter, Steele wrote. Now let's put in a little comparison about how much the U.S. military budget, according to this internet stuff, is. $801 billion per year. The U.S. spending in 2021 reached $801 billion per year, according to the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute. Now let's dive in. What does one plane cost from Lockheed Martin? $30 billion for an F-35 deal will see prices rise and deliveries dip. The unit cost of an F-35 fighter will creep up to $30 billion. Three-lot deal announced December 30th. This is January 2023 article. And so this deal calls for 398 F-35s to be built over the next 3 years, including foreign orders. The agreement calls for 145 aircraft in Lot 15, 127 aircraft in Lot 16, and up to 126 in Lot 17, which will include the first airplanes delivered to Belgium, Finland, and Poland. So these companies, these trillion-dollar influential companies, are worldwide with more money than the U.S. government and all these other governments combined, guys. They have the power to rule. Here it is. The agreed lot from 15 to 17 numbers average 132 airplanes per year, well below the 156 per year predicted by Lockheed Martin CEO Jim Taiclet in an investor's call a year ago. Lockheed is anxious to avoid a boom and bust cycle with production. Of course, so they want continually making weapons, and this is just the F-35. We're talking about all the tanks, all the mortars, all the artillery, all the equipment, all the technology. These guys are the ones, these private companies are the ones that are involved with the extraterrestrial spacecraft. Like, the government in Congress is now trying to figure out what they know and what they've been building on from crashed, planes from space, as an example. Like, that's all in the news these days. These companies have private information that the government doesn't even have access to, or certainly not the government, meaning like the Senate and the congressmen, but, just, crooked Joe Biden maybe. So it's $30 billion per just one of those aircraft, the F-35s, and there was 398 that they're planning to make. So that's 11,940 billion. So I guess I don't even know that. I never looked at this math, but is that not 11, almost $12 trillion just for planes, just for the F-35s, for 400 of them around the world, or 398? We're talking big money, guys. This is well beyond Pfizer and AstraZeneca and all these other. Okay, now let's move on where this all started, guys. It's the war machine. So, false flags, false problems, etc. This is from today's news, redacted. Ukraine wants NATO to take things to the next level. Of course they do. So, this whole time, you know, Ukraine is trying to become a member of NATO, so then everybody can join up with them and go to war against Russia and have reason to do so. But of course, a lot of people push back against the war machine, and they need false flags. So Ukraine claimed that Russia attacked Romania with drones in a clear effort to get NATO countries to join the war. Romania says, no, they didn't. So, by creating possible false flags, you know, none of this is for sure, but say Romania was attacked by Russia, so then Romania is in the NATO, and then but Ukraine's not in NATO. So, but, you know, Poland, Romania are, so it's like, no, we need to go against, NATO needs to go against Russia directly, and that's what they want. They want a direct war, not right now we have a sidebar war, right? A proxy war through Ukraine where all the Ukrainian men get slaughtered in the meat grinder, as we discussed yesterday. And the USA, NATO, they don't care about Ukraine. They don't care about Ukraine one bit. They don't care about the people. It's all about the war machine. It's all about their own political power and control, and inserting the deep state narrative to take out Russia, who is the only country, along with China, forcing itself against the deep state. And that's why they created the BRICS, the BRICS, which is now growing immensely, where it's going to have over half the world's GDP and over half the world's actual landmass, creating their own currency, excluding the US dollar from being the currency that you exchange with. So now they're going to exchange their minerals and their oil direct for, you know, trading old school way, avoiding the US dollar completely, which screws the US, guys. Don't stop saving so much US dollars. Start getting your money into things like gold and other things of asset value that have been worth something over the last 5,000 years. Let's go take a look at the article. And of course it's on Reuters, you know, which is just bullshit anyways, but we can still read what they say. 2 days ago, updated. Sorry, let's get into the immediate. Kiev, Bucharest, September 4th. Ukraine said on Monday Russian drones had detonated on the territory of NATO member Romania during an overnight airstrike on a Ukrainian port across the Danube River. But Bucharest denied its territory had been hit. Isn't it interesting that you have Ukraine saying, oh my God, Romania was hit? Why wouldn't it make more sense that Romania would be like, we were just hit by missiles? Like they would be announcing. Why is Ukraine announcing? So that's something for food for thought. Reuters could not independently verify either account. A rare report of stray weapons from the war in Ukraine hitting a neighboring member of the Western Military Alliance. Moscow has conducted long-range airstrikes on targets in Ukraine since the start of its invasion last year. Since July, when Moscow abandoned a deal that lifted a de facto Russian blockade on Ukraine Black Sea ports, it has repeatedly struck Ukrainian river ports that lie across the Danube from Romania. Russia launched its airstrikes hours before President Vladimir Putin was due to discuss reviving the Black Sea deal with the deal's sponsor, Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan. According to Ukraine State Border Guard Service, last night during a massive Russian attack near the port of Izmail, Russian shakeheads fell and detonated on the territory of Romania. Foreign Minister spokesperson Oleg Nikolenko said, referring to an Iranian-made drones. This is yet another confirmation that Russian missile territory poses a huge threat, not only to Ukraine's security, but also to the security of neighboring countries, including NATO member states. He wrote on Facebook. Nikolenko published a photo showing flames of an explosion visible from across the river. Reuters could not immediately verify the vantage point of the image. The Romanian Defense Ministry said Romania was not hit. So here you go, like the differences. The Ministry of Defense categorically denies information from the public space, which is that guy's Facebook post, regarding a so-called overnight situation during the Russian drones would have fallen in Romanian territory, it said. At no time did Russia's means of attack generate direct military threats on Romanian national territory or waters. In Washington, the U.S. State Department had said it was aware of the reporting on the matter, but referred queries to Romanian government. Pentagon declined to comment. So there you go, guys. Romania says no. Ukraine says, but you were attacked. Here's a first-hand report, you know, take it as it is, who knows, it's all just information here. Danela Tănase, whose house is in the Romanian village of Plauro, overlooks Ukraine Izmail port across the river. She said she was not aware of explosions on the Romanian bank, but could not say for certain. We heard the drones, the booms, and the air defense systems across the river, she told Reuters by telephone. We saw a light in the distance from our window. It was raining last night. NATO has a collective defense commitment under which the military alliance considers attack on one ally to be an attack on all allies. And so that's the instigator, guys. You know, you could just look at like Pearl Harbor. It's like, how do we get the U.S. people to go behind the war machine? Well, you need to attack the people in the USA because, well, we don't want to go into a war, is World War II. That's not our business. You know, the U.S. stayed out of the war. The people wanted peace. Well, then you need an attack on Pearl Harbor on the people itself. Let it happen. Don't stop it, even though they knew it was coming, because you need to hit the local people to influence them to give up their rights and go to war. All right, back to the original back to the original article. So Romania says no, they didn't. Ukraine tried this last year when they claimed that Russia had attacked Poland with a drone strike. Remember this, guys? Well, only for the people paying attention. That drone strike turned out to have been launched by Ukraine. So there's so many times there's false flags. You know, it's like, hey, look at this drone. Look at this missile strike from Russia in Ukraine. Many times over, it is actually Ukraine attacking themselves to create these false flags to show, like attacking apartment buildings. And then it's also known and proven that, and admitted to, that Ukraine is using drones to attack Russia civilian buildings of no strategic point to attack civilian buildings with drone strikes. Like nobody's, you know, luckily people weren't killed, but this has happened over and over the last month where Ukrainians are flying these little drones because they have no offensive. This is their offensive, is a couple random drone strikes to just make people angry, attacking civilians. It's so ridiculous. Have you guys been seeing these little drone strikes showing up on the Telegram or the Twitter? You know, what's the point of that, Ukraine, right? It's pathetic. It's actually terror. You guys are terrorists. The Ukraine military, backed, supported, and controlled by the USA, are terrorists. The USA Biden administration are terrorists. They did a terrorist act, including blowing up the Nord Stream pipelines. That's a terrorist attack. Don't get two words about it. It is an absolute terrorist attack, and it affected Germany immensely because they didn't have fuel to freaking heat their homes over last winter. Again, this is a dangerous game of false flag escalation. Thankfully, it isn't working, but you would think it would cool Western support for Ukraine. No, that's because everybody's out there toting the flags with no idea what's actually going on and no idea about the $15 trillion war machine that they're propagating with not knowing any information. You know, it's the guys running around with the Ukraine flags off their bicycle when I'm on, where the hell was I? In Victoria last summer. Or you see all of these sex flags hanging from people's houses. You're just propagating the narrative and have no clue about what's actually going on. All these gay and, not gay flags, whatever these special rainbow flags are actually impeding the gay pride flag. This, you know, XKW 2V5, whatever, I can't remember now. It literally is an attack on the gay community, and they are not happy about it because they're stealing their whole, what they've worked so hard on to create, you know, information about people's rights to be gay and open and etc. And now this 2BSKU is actually an attack on this, just like the Black Lives Matter. It's just big business. Where did all that money go for the Black Lives Matter? Well, now they own 15 properties around California. People, the executives of the Black Lives Matter is just making money. It's a scam, guys. You guys got all the people who donated money were scammed into feeding other people to buying mansions. Where did it go? What did it do? It's propagating hatred. That's all it is. All these flags do is remind you of segregation and hate. They are creating it. The more people talk about racism, the more people talk about these items of hate, the more it's relevant, the more it's in daily discussion, the more it's visible, the more people think about it. I didn't think about racism 4 years ago much at all, but now it's everywhere you go. Segregation is everywhere you go. It's the vax versus unvax. It's the LGBTQ versus non-LGBTQ. It's children being indoctrinated in our schools. It's kids being their bodies being cut up and changed when they're freaking children, and they have no thought process of how to actually think about how their life is going to be affected negatively on these pedophile pills. Like they're giving children and young adults drugs that they were forcing on pedophiles in jail to like remove their sense of life, of who they are and what they're doing and their sex drives, and putting them on chemicals. And the pharmaceutical company just keeps pushing and pushing and making money on it. Just like the war machine and the smaller effort that distracts you from what's going on. World War III, guys, that's what all this is. It's a big fucking distraction from, we've never been closer to a nuclear war that is being pushed, and pushed, guys. There's nuclear codes for Russia and the USA. And keep in mind, the USA is the only country in the world to preemptively strike with nuclear weapons in Japan on civilians. These civilians had nothing to do with the war. It is the politicians pushing their own narratives in the deep state. And you have all these innocent people in Japan died from a nuclear bomb. And the nuclear waste destroys the land for essentially forever. You'd have to dig down a kilometer and take all that soil, and because it's completely contaminated from the nuclear atom, blah, blah, blah. I'm losing my mind here. And this, and the US and the Russia, they don't have a preemptive strike code. They have a post-emptive strike. If somebody attacks the Russian country, if Russia is attacked, which includes Crimea, the civilians are attacked, then their post code is retaliation. And they know it's all funded and controlled by the USA, so their retaliation is a nuclear bomb on a US city. It could be Chicago, it could be Washington, D.C., it could be fucking California. It's some one city. That is, they're saying, if you attack us, the USA, whether through proxy or another country or not, we are going to retaliate on a US city. And the USA just keeps pushing and pushing, sending up missiles all along the Ukraine border of Russia. It's insane, guys. We've never been closer to a world war. Nuclear war does nothing. This USA is the only one avoiding the peace talks. Just like Trump says, if you had Biden out and you had Trump in there, and his first agenda is this war is going to be over tomorrow, we are going to peace talks. The USA has been blocking all the peace talks because they want everybody dead. They don't give a shit about Ukraine, like I said earlier. They don't care about people in Ukraine. They don't care about people whatsoever, guys. It's the war machine. It's the deep state narrative. It's control. And they will keep on pushing for this war. They don't care. They're not going to be in the city that's going to be bombed. They don't care. You guys got to stop allowing this. You must not comply. Irnieracing News.